Good morning, my friends, and welcome to an incredible day in America. From very high above, all the puerile and vacuous forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. It is a beautiful morning in America. What a great day to be an American, my friends. Well, actually, every day is a great day to be an American, but especially today. And let me tell you why. Even if you're a Democrat, you should celebrate today. No, I know. Yeah, Orange Man bad, Trump derangement syndrome, all of that. But really, when it comes down to fixing what's wrong with our country, and maybe you're one of these liberals that right now you just don't believe that there's anything wrong with our country, but I assure you there is. And if you're a Democrat, here are the reasons why you should be very happy about last night. The economy is, despite what Kamala Harris told you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the economy was in shambles. This morning, the last time I looked, of course, I've got the TV going in the studio this morning, but this morning, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up over 1,200 points. Why? Because investors are feeling like this is a great sign for our country, because we've put a businessman back in the White House. Now, there is only a couple of things you need to do to fix, like big things to fix the country. And the first is to treat it like a business, run it like a business, like Donald Trump did for 4 years. Free market economics and believe in freedom. Allow individuals to pursue their pursuit of happiness in the way that they see fit and allow them. And allow is such a dirty word in this, but it's the one that I'm going to use. Allow them to succeed or fail on their merits. Get the government out of the free market. Project strength throughout the rest of the world. Peace through strength, as Ronald Reagan would say. Make sure that we stay out of people's private lives. And one of the things that the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration, soon to be the former president of the United States, but one of the biggest problems that I saw is that they wanted to be involved in every single aspect of your life, regardless of what it was, whether it was a light bulb or it was the car you drive or the stove that you cook your food on or the refrigerator that you buy or the water heater that's in your house so that you can take a hot shower. One of the things that is an advantage to being an American, just about everybody here has running water as opposed to the rest of the world. But even if you're a Democrat, you should absolutely be in favor of the Donald Trump win. America is going to prosper. America is going to come back. And the truth is, there are a lot of things that are going to change. There's a number of things that this morning that I thought of. I wonder what's going to happen in the rest of the world. There are conflicts that are going on in all sorts of different places. Israel is working on a four-front war right now. Kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen after they realize that Donald Trump is going to be the 47th president of the United States. And it harkens me back to the election of 1980, when right before the election, actually the day of the election, Iran was holding several hundred hostages. And the day after Ronald Reagan was elected, all of those hostages were released. Now, the question is why? Because they knew what Ronald Reagan would do, that he wasn't going to play patty cake anymore, that we weren't going to pussyfoot around, that we weren't going to try to solve everything with diplomacy, that Ronald Reagan was going to solve the problem. And that is exactly what Donald Trump is going to do. So regardless of which side of the fence you're on, if you're a Republican, a conservative Republican, it is an awesome day. If you're a Democrat, you probably don't think so, but you eventually will. So regardless of what's happening today, be happy. And and I have one thing that I have been dying to do this morning. I played it a little bit on the morning show, but my friends, happy days are here again.
Happy days are here again.
happy days are here again. Actually, I'm not done celebrating. Here's another one. Oh, my friends, I have been dreaming of this morning for so long. And I have to tell you, remember how I told you not to be worried about the election, that I would tell you when it was time to panic? And I firmly remember saying, don't panic. There is no reason to be. We are going to be successful. And I was talking to my dad yesterday, and Dad kind of has sometimes a pessimistic view of politics. He lives in Johnson County, so I mean, you can imagine, right? He has Bill Novotny to deal with, but he kind of has a pessimistic view. And he said he told me, he goes, "I'm really worried that Trump isn't going to pull this off." And I said, "Don't worry." And I said, "You got to have faith." And here is the explanation that I gave him: that I refuse to believe that my fellow countrymen will sell us down the river again. In favor of socialism and communism. I just can't believe that they would do that. That even if you are a Democrat, even if you are a diehard Democrat, dyed in the wool kind of socialist type person, you are still going to vote with your pocketbook. That you cannot say that things today are better than they were 4 years ago, because fundamentally they are not. And I told Dad I cannot believe that is going to happen. In fact, I think that we're looking at a 1980 type of election. So let me explain what that means. Right now, looking up at Fox News, they have Donald Trump at 277 electoral votes with several states left to call. And I think that we are looking at an electoral victory somewhere in the neighborhood of 300, which was exactly what Ronald Reagan got during the 1980 election. This is the first time it's the first time in 20 years that a Republican is going to win the popular vote as well. That's huge. In all the elections since, I believe it was 2004 was the last time a Republican won the popular vote. This is a clear mandate for Donald Trump. It is a clear mandate for Republicans, because we didn't just win the presidency. We took back the Senate, and we are probably going to have the House. A historic opportunity for Republicans, a historic opportunity for America. And I can't tell you how incredibly excited I am for the next 4 years. I woke up this morning, and I didn't go to bed until, I think it was 1:30 when we finally laid down. And I was up and at 'em at 5 a.m., ready to go, ready to do this show. And so here we go. Here's what we're going to do on today's program. First of all, the phone lines are open. If you want to be part of the program, the phone number is 307-374-8989. I'm going to leave the phone lines open through the entire program. So if there's something on your mind, if you want to talk about the election, go ahead and give me a call. It's 307-374-8989. One more time, 307-374-8989. So just go ahead and give me a call, and I'll get to them. The other thing is, we have to talk about the media meltdown that happened right after the race was called for Donald Trump. It was absolutely incredible. I've got several different sound bites for you. But first, the first thing I want to do, and let's see, yeah, we can do this. I've got a little montage I put together from Trump's victory speech. Now, I would totally be in favor of playing the entire thing, but we have a program to do, and there's a lot of things that I want to talk to you about. So let's go ahead and listen to this little montage from Donald Trump's victory speech last night, and just listen to what he says, and ask yourself how it would be possible not to believe in what he says. Here we go.
This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American, we had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment. uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use it. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny, and we're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, my great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term when we became more and more successful. People started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And God bless the American voter. Incredible night last night, my friends. After the break, we're going to talk about what this means. There were a lot of things that happened last night, and a lot of them you may or may not be aware of. But I think it's important to talk about them just so that we have an understanding of where we were at, where we're going, and what it means in the context of history. Because I told the lovely Christine last night, what we're watching is history unfold again. And there were some big moments last night. And there's some big moments today. So we'll talk about it next. You are listening to Cowboy State Politics Live on the Independence Network. You're not going to find a selection of better news, entertainment, and commentary than right here on the Independence Network, with great voices like Joey Carenti from Just Blame Joey, Ken Pendergraft from The Ramble Room, Tom Kelly from Wide Right Turn, and the lovely Christine from The Hair Affair. And of course, my program, Cowboy State Politics, Wyoming's most listened to political program. Also, don't forget to check out the articles section at the website, independencenetwork.us. It's loaded with op-eds, commentary, and news from all around the Cowboy State. You can listen to the Cowboy State Politics podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest place is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles that I might bring up during the course of a program. That way, if your name is Joe Biden and you can't remember if you had your pudding today, well, I probably can't help you with that, but I can definitely tell you why you should have never ran for president. And now, back to our program.
Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
That one's never going to get old, my friends. But the question is, what really did happen? Except, of course, for, the vast majority of Americans to have come to their senses and realized that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all of the Democrats really are trying to destroy our country. What actually happened? Because I think that it deserves some explanation. I firmly believe that in politics, there is a giant pendulum. And I mean, I guess, it's not an actual pendulum, but imagine there's this giant pendulum. And in every election, it tends to swing one way or the other. It goes to Democrats and then it goes to Republicans or Democrats and then Republicans, depending on how you're looking at the screen. But and then every once in a while, you'll see a radical swing to one side, either the left or the right. And usually that'll go on for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, it will swing back the other way. So think about Barack Obama's 8 years. Definitely, by that time, the most radical president in American history. By the way, I wish more people would have read his first book like I did. We would have known exactly what he was going to do and what his plans were, because he spelled them all out. But the pendulum swung to the left, and it ushered in a time of radical environmentalism, regulation, laws that we can't, we probably don't even know the impact of yet. But then all of a sudden, Donald Trump came on the scene, and you saw the pendulum swing to the other direction. And usually when you get these radical swings, you go from one extreme to the other, and it doesn't tend to slow down ever. Well, then we get to Donald Trump, and the pendulum swung back to the right, and it took a lot to right the ship, to get everything back in order, and Donald Trump had things going pretty well. And then, all of a sudden, Joe Biden. But there were a lot of other influences on that. There was COVID, and, that was had a profound impact on the American electorate. And then, last night, you saw the entire country, both with the presidency, the Senate, and probably the House, swing back the other way. And what you'll hear, and I played for you the montage from Trump's speech last night, and what you should have heard out of it is, we are going to bring this country back together. That, yes, it was a victory lap of sorts, but most of it was, we are going to come back together. We're going to do this together. We're going to, and I really have tired of the word unity, basically because I think that it has been used so much, but for most of the time by the left, that I don't know that it really means anything anymore. But I think that Trump characterized it correctly. in that success will bring us together. When we start succeeding as a nation again, when we're back on top, when we have energy independence again, when our military is built back up and we do have peace through strength, and we have put to bed all of these wars that are happening around the globe, that the success we are going to have will bring us together. And so I think what you're seeing is, and what you started to hear last night, was an attempt to bring that pendulum back into normal operating procedure, to where there's no radical swings either way. But now we've got 4 years to give it a try, 4 years to see what's going to happen. And I have absolute faith that Donald Trump and the conservatives are going to be able to accomplish great things. And you heard him say that he is going to govern from a simple principle: promises made, promises kept. And that's what he did during his first term, that he made a lot of promises during the campaign, and then he kept a lot of those promises. So, I mean, that's the way that I see it, and I think that I'm right about this. I mean, Lord knows I've been right about so much stuff in this election that, it's hard to keep track of them. But anyway, that's how I see it. Now, remember, phone lines are open, 374-8989. That's 307-374-8989. Right after the election last night, the media went into full-blown panic mode, full-blown panic meltdown, and it was absolutely glorious. Let's see. I've got a number of sound bites here. Let's start with Joy Reid. And she actually said that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign. Listen to this.
Woman president, let alone a woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. She had, Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed.
Yeah, it was so historic and flawless that it wasn't successful. It was historically unsuccessful, and it was a flawless failure. But other than that, there was no success there. Kamala Harris lost big time, bigly last night. And like I said, Trump's at 277, and I've been watching the screen in the studio, trying to see if the numbers are going to change a little bit, because you would think that they would. But there was nothing historic. Well, it was a historic failure, and it was a flawless failure. But there was nothing historic in terms of the way that we might characterize it. But at PMS, NBC, they were going off the rails. Let me give you another example. And this one happened right after the race was called for Donald Trump. And this is Joe Scarborough. Now, he was, believe it or not, he was a Republican congressman for a while. He obviously a big-time redcoat. But he's definitely not conservative or Republican anymore. But here's what he had to say. Listen to this. This is amazing.
We still have an electorate, 70 million plus, that will be voting for a man who said he was going to assassinate for treason the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he didn't support him on January the 6th, who has said just in recent days he was going to execute Liz Cheney with a firing squad, 9 guns.
Okay, all right. I got to stop right there. No, he didn't say that. It is very clear if you listen to what he said. He was talking about all these people in Washington that are big, giant war hawks, that it's pretty easy for them to send 10,000 U.S. troops to some godforsaken place that nobody knows exists when they're sitting in their cozy office. And his point was things would be different if it were Liz Cheney that had 9 guns pointed at her. That was his point.
Pointed and shooting at her face. A man who has said that he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited an interview. A man who said he was going to be a dictator from day one. A man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution. A man who said he was going to use the Army and he was going to use the National Guard on his political opponents. I literally could go on all day. And yet you talk to Trump voters and they'll go, he didn't say that. Wait, now I didn't hear him. And then you say, well, here's the quote. And then they'll go, yeah, he didn't mean that. So there's something far more long lasting than just Donald Trump, the candidate. There is a sort of.
Okay, so this is a perfect example of somebody who is fundamentally dishonest, that he knows. I mean, and Joe Scarborough's not a dumb guy. I mean, he is halfway intelligent. But he fundamentally believes in all of the things that he just said, and almost all of them are lies. And if they are not completely a lie, they're at least partly a lie. He's taken things out of context. He's misinterpreted them. And yeah, there are a lot. I mean, I am one of those people that listens to what he just said. And I can tell you for a fact, no, he didn't call for the execution of a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. No, he did not call for Liz Cheney to be in front of a firing squad. Many of the things that he said are just taken out of context. But think about this. He is supposed to be a political pundit. He's supposed to be one of the experts. And not 5 minutes after the election was called for Donald Trump, this is what he was saying. And the soundbite goes on to where he actually talks about Trump voters, that we don't know civics and that we're uneducated, and absolutely incredible. Now, I think the political wisdom in all of this is last night's Trump victory was a reaction to how the Democrats, Biden, Harris, all of them have treated Americans. That if you support Donald Trump, then you might resemble this.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And then there was all of the deplorables comments from Hillary Clinton. The Democrats have treated the American voter like we're a piece of dirt if we don't agree with them for so long that American citizens got fed up with it, that we are fed up with being talked down to. And I've got a soundbite from David Axelrod that I'm going to play here in a little bit. That's basically what he said. And I mean, he softens it a little bit and tries to make it a little bit more palatable to Democrats. But that's essentially what he's saying. Let's see here. Here's another one from PBS. This one's great.
Trump is gaining on what he did in 2020. And to me, I'm mystified in some ways. Simply because we're talking about a twice impeached, 4 times indicted, convicted on 34 felony counts, former president.
Okay, twice impeached, convicted on 34 counts, felon president. But America, and this is an example of how the Democrats think that you're stupid. They think that all of us, because we voted for Donald Trump, we're absolutely ignorant. We have no idea what's going on. But we're smart enough to see that the 2 impeachments were a sham, that there really was no crime or misdemeanor that Donald Trump had committed. The first one, the phone call with Zelensky, there really was no quid pro quo in it. And even if there was, let's talk about the quid pro quo with Joe Biden and Ukraine. You know, I'm leaving here in about 6 hours. If you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. That's a quid pro quo, but there never really was a crime or misdemeanor. The second one, over the January 6th thing, he wasn't even in office anymore, or he had like a couple days left in office before they impeached him. Yet a total sham. And I think when you look at the rest of what he was saying with, well, you know, he's a convicted felon, convicted on 34 counts. Yeah, but Ray Charles could see that all of those were trumped up, no pun intended. That all of them were a miscarriage of justice, that it was the Department of Justice, the Biden Department of Justice, that carried things too far. And there was no reason to prosecute Donald Trump for all of those so-called financial crimes. He's the only person that was going to be prosecuted in that way, in that fashion. Frankly, he's the only person that's been prosecuted in that way. So there's no great mystery here of what's going on, except for that the Democrats don't believe you're smart enough to know how to make your own decisions, that they don't believe that you know what's best for you. And so they have to make your decisions for you. It's the media, and that's why they've been failing. That's why most of their circulation is down. We'll come back after the break. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but it's hunting season. And one thing that you can be absolutely certain of is while you're tromping around in the boonies, at some point, it's going to snow. a lot. And you definitely want to make sure that you keep your feet nice and toasty warm. The best way that you can do that is to order a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They are the warmest socks that I've ever put on my feet. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Wyoming is one of the most sought-after places to live. There's a lot of people that want to move to our great state. And if you're thinking about selling your house to one of them, you need a real estate agent that you can trust. That agent is Rebecca Bextel at Compass Real Estate. She's lived in Jackson for almost 20 years and has her fingers on the pulse of the real estate market. Last year, she sold almost $25 million worth of property. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, give Rebecca a call. Her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day. I'm only gonna get stronger.
Watch out. This country is only going to get stronger. Free market capitalism, peace through strength, freedom, liberty. It's all coming back. Welcome back to the program, my friends. David Iverson, Cowboy State Politics, live behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone, documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. It is a great day in America, my friends, and an awesome day to be a Republican. If you want to be part of the program, the phone number is 307-374-8989, 307-374-8989. Go ahead and give me a call. I'm leaving the phone lines open all day long, or all program long anyway. So if there's something on your mind that you want to talk about, go ahead and give me a ring. So before the break, if you're just joining us, I was talking about the media meltdown that happened directly after the race was called for Republicans. And it was, or for Donald Trump rather, and Republicans more broadly. But it was absolutely amazing to watch. And it was almost on cue that a lot of the people in the media absolutely went off the rails. Joe Scarborough, Joy Reid, and PBS. Here's one from Van Jones on CNN. Listen to what he had to say. Now, Van Jones, you have to know his history, but this guy is a radical's radical, and he has been for a very long time. But he's the guy that gets super, super emotional. He calls it the heart part. But listen to him.
Because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite, who are hurting tonight. There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream a big dream over the past couple of months. And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt. And they were hoping that maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy.
As worthy.
And once again, they were facing rejection. And that hurts. They thought tomorrow morning they're going to walk out with their shoulders back a little bit, maybe able to breathe for the first time and feel like they belong someplace. They did everything that they knew how to do. And it's going to be harder than it should be tomorrow for them to hold their heads up.
Okay, so one of the fascinating parts about that soundbite is he says, it's black women that know a thing or two about being talked down to. Let me tell you about some people who know a whole heck of a lot about being talked down to. The American citizen. For 8 years, we have been told, hold on just a second. For 8 years, we have been told that we're deplorables, that we don't know anything, that we're stupid, that we should just let the elites take control of everything, that we don't know what we're doing, that Donald Trump is a danger to everything and anyone. And it has been said over and over and over again. And in case you've forgotten, here's a replay of them.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't make a difference at all, Jake, and that is for Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for president.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Listen to him laugh. Wow, amazing.
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
American citizens are tired of being talked down to, tired of listening to that sort of garbage. And one of the guys, and you had a couple of people on CNN, of all places, that kind of got it last night. And one of those was David Axelrod. Now, of course, David Axelrod is the guy that engineered Barack Obama's first and second win. But listen to what he had to say last night.
Felt like we were supporting Israel and we were stronger and we were tougher. And I think that resonates with people.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to engage in an autopsy prematurely, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion, not just about what happened in this campaign, but about when parties lose, it's an occasion for evaluation. And I think the evaluation is necessary.
Do you think the Democratic Party will do that?
I think I think it will do that, and it should do that. And I say, as I was saying to you guys before, I appreciate the Democratic Party because I think it believes in the use of institutions to help lift people up, and that we're a better country when you do. But the Democratic Party has become more of a suburban, college-educated, professional party, and it still feels allegiance to working people, and it still tries to fight for working people, but it approaches working people like missionaries, like Margaret Mead would approach the natives, and they come and the Democrats say, we want to help you become more like us. And the implication is that somehow if you work with your hands or work with your back, that you're less than. And
there you have it. It is exactly right. The Democrat Party, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, though they have no right to think of themselves as elitists, they do. And the rest of the Democrats do as well. That if you are a guy that works his tail off as a plumber, and you make sure that people have water when it's 20 degrees below zero, and you're a carpenter and you make sure that somebody has a nice house to live in, or you're an electrician that makes sure that people have power, or that you're even the guy with the shovel in his hand. And, when I was running for city council, by the way, the only election I've ever won is for precinct man, or a precinct position. But I always said that the most important city worker is the guy that's standing out in a hole in 20 below zero with a shovel, making sure he's hooking up your water on Christmas Eve so that you can have a nice time with your family. That's the most important worker. And it's that type of voter that the Democrats continually talk down to, that he or she is one of the people that are in the basket of deplorables, that they're one of the clowns, or as Joe Biden said, that we're garbage. Those are the people that the Democrat Party talks down to. And it is absolutely, like last night was a repudiation of everything that the Democrat Party has done to Americans in the last 4 years. We went from a prosperous economy, one where we had energy independence, to having to pay $3 a gallon for gas, $6, in some places, $6 for a carton of eggs, and $6 or $7 for a gallon of milk. That's where we're at. The rampant spending by the Democrat Party has driven this economy into the ground. And it's like, it really is like Margaret Thatcher said, that socialism works until you run out of other people's money to spend. And that's what happened, my friends. And Americans they're not stupid. We're not deplorables. We're not garbage. We understand exactly what it takes to prosecute everything in our lives. what it takes to run a household, what it means to get a job when you're the guy that's been unemployed for a while. We get that. We know what it means to run a business and how difficult it is. But it is the Democrat Party that tells us things like, well, we're not paying our fair share, that we'll give you a tax break, but we're going to tax unrealized capital gains. Insane policy after insane policy. And it was Winston Churchill said that after they've exhausted all other possibilities, Americans will do the right thing. And last night, Americans finally did the right thing for themselves. And it's like Ronald Reagan said. It's not that the Democrats are stupid. Well, let's just let him say it.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything. Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Last night, I had Reagan ringing through my ears through the entire night. And of course, being the historian, I saw lots of different parallels between what happened last night and previous elections. By the way, it has been since 1890, and I'm probably going to get the date wrong, but since the 1890s, that a president was elected to non-consecutive terms. That was Grover Cleveland that when that happened. So it's been since the late 19th century that we've had an election like last night. It has been since 1980 that a Republican has won over 300 electoral votes, which he will eventually. Oh, and by the way, I just flashed up on the Fox News screen that the Republicans now have 200 seats in the House of Representatives. So they're well on their way. They need 218 to take the majority, and that'll probably happen, but just to give you an update. Now, it was CNN that had, and on one of their panels, that had a guy who pretty much laid out the entire thing that I'm talking about this morning. And he clearly explains why Democrats got their teeth kicked in by voters last night. Take a listen to this. Let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. Scott Jennings with CNN.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans. Fix immigration. Try to get crime under control. Try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed,
the forgotten man,
insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line. And we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
We've had enough. And that is exactly what happened last night. The vast majority of this country that makes it work said we have had enough of the Democrat Party. More after the break. You can listen to Cowboy State Politics live every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on the Independence Network. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Cowboy State Politics is sponsored by FreedomGoldUSA.com. They are the working man's gold company. The economy is in turmoil. The stock market pretty much is out of control, and you never know what's going to happen with your finances or your income. One way that you can shore up everything is by investing in gold and silver. Go to freedomgoldusa.com/David for a free interview to discuss your options and find out if gold or silver is right for you. One more time, that's freedomgoldusa.com/David. Welcome back to the program. David Iverson, Cowboy State Politics Live. On YouTube, on X, on Facebook, and today I added a channel on Rumble. It's almost like I'm omnipresent. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can find it anywhere that you get your podcast. Just search for me or Cowboy State Politics, and it's pretty easy to find. The easiest place to go if you want to listen to the podcast is to cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you'll find all of the shows, as well as any of the documents, hard-to-find documents that I might mention during the program. That way, you can find out and know exactly what you're talking about, and you don't have to make the dumb mistake of saying, well, because David said so. I've got a little update for you from the podcast I put out on Monday, the one about how there are conservatives in the Wyoming Senate that are trying to short-circuit our conservative victory. And those two guys are Bo Beitman and Senator Tim Salazar. Apparently, they're playing patty cake with Senator Tara Nethercott Slithers, who votes with the Democrats 80% of the time. Why they would be saddling up with her, I have no idea. But anyway, apparently it's because she's promised to give them a chairmanship or a place in leadership. The irony being that if they would just vote for a conservative, they would probably have that anyway. But I confirmed with yet another source. So now we're up to 7 sources that are telling me exactly the same thing. That, in fact, what I reported to you on Monday is true. And the most telling part of it is that I called Senator Beitman 2 days before I let that episode rip, and he has still yet to call me back. And you would think if I was wrong about him or about his intentions or about him playing patty cake with Senator Slithers, that he would call me and let me know. But he hasn't yet, and so I'm going to keep after it. This guy is, he's my senator. I live in his district, and it is absolutely unconscionable that he refuses to return a phone call from one of his constituents. And, I'm not just a guy that owns a podcast, the largest podcast in the state of Wyoming, or Facebook or Cowboy State Politics Live, or as a partner with the Independence Network. Nope, I'm also his constituent. So he needs to call me back. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left in the program. We still got time to get a phone call in if you have something on your mind. The phone number in the studio is 307-374-8989. That's 307-374-8989 if you want to be part of the program. All day today, we've been talking about Trump's gargantuan historic victory last night. And there's a piece from the AP, and, the AP is one of those sources that you never get really anything that's fair or balanced. But there's an interesting little blurb that they put out, and it's entitled, Harris voters were motivated by democracy, Trump supporters by inflation and immigration. And I quote, Voters for Kamala Harris and Donald Trump who cast their ballots for Tuesday's presidential election had vastly different motivations, reflecting a broader national divide on the problems in the United States. The AP Votecast, an extensive survey of more than 115,000 voters nationwide, found that the fate of democracy appeared to be a primary driver for Vice President Kamala Harris's supporters. It was a sign that the Democratic nominee's messaging in her campaign's closing days, accusing Trump of being a fascist, may have broken through, except, of course, that it didn't, that way more people were focusing on things that directly impact their life, like inflation, like immigration, and it's to the tune of millions of voters. Last time it flashed on the screen, it was that Trump had over 71 million votes. Quote, by contrast, Trump supporters were largely focused on immigration and inflation, two issues that the former Republican president has been hammering since the start of his campaign. Trump has pledged that tariffs would bring back factory jobs and that greater domestic oil production would flow through the economy and lower prices. Absolutely it will. The reason we know that is it happened the first time. All of these idiots in the media, they either A, are knowingly lying to you, or they are the dumbest people on the planet. And it's just absolutely incredible. Now, it's even more incredible when you look at how much money was dumped into this presidential election. Over $16 billion, that's billion with a B, was spent in this election. And I quote, the 2024 election cycle will end up costing close to $16 billion, election transparency nonprofit Open Secrets has projected. Even after adjusting for inflation, that predicted total is more than any other election cycle except for 2020. And it includes a hefty $5 billion plus in projected purchases by super PACs and other outside groups. The precise total is still in flux, though, because we don't have all the reports and all the mandatory reporting isn't in yet. But campaigns will likely keep spending lavishly on ad buys and get out the vote efforts until the polls close. So this was yesterday. But with the end of the breathtakingly tight presidential race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump finally in sight, along with finishes for various nail-biting congressional races, here's a look at how the candidates. Okay, so anyway, the point is that we spent a tremendous amount of money, and it is absolutely incredible what happened. And I made a point on the morning show, and I think it was, I think it was this morning, that maybe one of the things that we learned in this election, maybe just in Wyoming, is that you can't buy votes when it comes down to it. So let's go ahead and go to a caller, and we'll see what's going on. Welcome to Cowboy State Politics. How's it going today? What's on your mind?
Going good, David. This is Tom Zoltorf down in Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Hey, Tom.
Just wanted to. How's it going?
Good, man. Good.
Today's a glorious day, in my opinion. So, I was just wanting to talk to you real quick too about what you think everything's going to go for. What we have to look forward to for the future of not only America but also specifically Wyoming.
Oh, I think our future is
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think our future is absolutely bright, Tom. And let's start with Wyoming. Conservatives took over the House, and I think what that means, first off, is you're not going to see any new taxes, which is exactly what Amendment A was all about, them monkeying with the tax rates. You're going to see a lot of really conservative legislation being pushed through the House. Now, a lot of this depends on the Senate, how if conservatives take power over there. But I think you're going to see a lot more conservatism in the state of Wyoming. It's been a long time since I don't know if the conservatives have ever been in power, but the point I was going to make is that the redcoats and the liberals have been manning the helm for so long that they think that huge government spending is the way that you solve all the problems. So I think what you're going to see is a dramatic reduction in spending, way more conservative legislation, and I think it's going to be a great time in Wyoming. Now, on the national scene, I think you're going to see exactly what Trump promised last night. Energy independence, We're going to build up our military again. I'm really curious as to what's going to happen in the world. This morning I brought up the point that, right before Reagan was elected, the Iranians were holding, I think it was hundreds of hostages. I don't remember the exact number. And then the day after, they released all of them because they knew what Reagan was going to do. And so I think the same thing applies to Trump, that one of the reasons we didn't have any, wars to speak of when he was president is all the bad guys around the world were scared to death of him. So I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see energy independence. The Dow, though I don't know that it's a really good measure of how the economy's doing, but the Dow is up over 1,200 points this morning. So I think you're looking at a rocking economy. We're going to get energy independence back, and I think that we're going to see a lot less foreign conflict.
I agree with that. I mean, there's a reason why Mr. Putin kind of stayed in his lane for 4 years.
Yep, exactly.
Where he hadn't previously. So, yeah, I'm right in agreement with you. I think it's going to be great. And the thing that I'm also excited for, excuse me, is J.D. Vance. That man is, he killed it on every interview. I think at one point, near the beginning of September, I heard a stat that Tim Walz had only done 10 interviews. Kamala Harris had only done 12. Trump had done something like 21, and J.D. Vance had done 60.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's great. And I'm also excited too, the fact that he's only 40 years old.
Exactly right.
He's younger than me. So I'm actually kind of hoping and think we could get, we're going to get 4 more years of Trump. Then we could get 8 years of J.D. Vance.
Oh man, wouldn't that be something?
That would be great.
Yeah, I really think that J.D. Vance was a great choice by Trump, and that debate between him and Tim Walz, that was a thing of beauty. And every time he did an interview, I mean, it was just straight. Here's the facts. Here's why you're wrong. I think he's going to be a great vice president. And while it's still early, it's from everything I've seen, I think he would be a great presidential candidate. Well, Tom, thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy today, man.
All right, you too. I just have to say, remember the 5th of November.
Remember, don't ever forget the 5th of November, man. All right, take care, Tom.
All right, take care, David.
Excellent point. Remember the 5th of November. And while that was about the gunpowder treason and plot, I don't think that it will be any longer. Now we've got 2 reasons to remember the 5th of November. One of them is the signing of the Wyoming Constitution. And then the other reason why you should remember the 5th of November is that's when Donald Trump was reelected president of the United States. Well, we've come to the end of another busy broadcast hour on the program. An incredible day in the state of Wyoming, an incredible day in America. It's days like this that make me proud to be an American. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State Politics.